Yeah, just for awareness, be advised, there's probably about 300 Proud Boys. They're marching eastbound in this 400 block of kind of Independence, actually on the mall towards the United States Capitol.
I am not allowed to say what's going to happen today because everyone's just going to have to watch for themselves. But it's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Today's testimony detailing the president's words, the efforts to draw those crowds to Washington, and the president's tweet immediately after that meeting described as unhinged, calling supporters to Washington on January 6th, saying, "Be there. It will be wild."
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and oaths mean nothing. Politicians are criminals exempt from justice, and corruption is the status quo. That's the reality that we're looking at if Donald Trump is not convicted. This is our chance to defeat corruption in politics, and if we don't, we will be welcoming corruption with open arms.
The January 6th committee methodically laying out how President Trump summoned an armed mob to Washington, D.C., ignoring his top White House advisors who told him he had lost the election.
We're coming for you!
Our reaction to the attempted coup against our very own country will be the most consequential response in the modern history of our country. The future of our very democracy will be determined, and I can't imagine any more important news than that.
Calling his supporters to Washington on January 6th, telling them be there, will be wild. The committee says for the right-wing fringe, that one tweet was an instant call to action.
And now Donald Trump is calling on his supporters to descend on Washington, D.C., January 6th.
He is now calling on we, the people, to take action and to show our numbers.
If necessary, storming right into the Capitol.
January 6th, there's going to be 1 million plus geeked up armed Americans.
The time for action is now. Where were you when history called?
Trump and the un-American Republican Party will try until the bitter end to normalize their domestic terrorism and their continued plot to overthrow freedom, fair elections, and the justice system. They will fight this tooth and nail until conviction. And at that time, the party of evil and greed will once more have a chance to split themselves from Agent Orange. But Trump himself will never stop. Remember a while back when Trump vowed he'd unleash his mindless zombies if he's convicted? He wants them to attack and kill the American judicial system when it comes down on him. Because that's how fascism works. It's king over country. The Republican Party has devolved into a full-out satanic cult, and Trump makes a pretty good approximation of the devil himself. Trump attempted and failed his coup against our nation, but he's long since won the takeover of the right-wing political machine. That whole complex has tied themselves to Trump's criminal bid for absolute power. They work day and night to con people into thinking a violent insurrection, blatant lies, strong-armed third-world dictatorship tactics, and fascism on American soil are all just par for the course. Politics as usual. And that means all of us who don't have our heads up Trump's butt have got to stand loud for our country in her hour of need. I spent a military career protecting and defending the ideals we hold sacred as Americans: freedom, justice, democracy. Now, I know there is more work that needs to be done, more than ever before. All of us who know the gravity of this moment know that we as a nation are on red alert. I want to see people coming out of the woodwork to defend democracy and defeat these domestic terrorists. Because I'll be damned if we're going to lose our nation that generations have died for because morons were conned by a deluded idiot former game show host. Trump's violent bid for absolute power is absolutely absurd, especially when you look at how the right-wing media has effectively lobotomized all of its patrons into handing their democracy over in willing submission to an evil emperor. Absolutely unacceptable. This has been a frightening thing to witness, to see just how defenseless a big part of our population is to the most asinine and blatant lies of all time. Trump and the alt-right media will continue to drum up ridiculous lies to cover their crimes. We simply can't have a society where Trump and his cronies are above the law and high treason is something that can be dismissed outright, all in the name of politics. I'm asking every person out there watching to think of one thing that you can do today to help save our democracy. Register a voter. Volunteer for an anti-Trump candidate. Call your congressman and tell them to denounce Trump's criminality, or even just talk with the folks in your neighborhood and tell them why Donald Trump is a cancer to every American ideal. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.